Kia ora Tatou, welcome to this lesson of Te Kuru Marutea's Waiata, Kei Wareware I a Tatou. This song is the one that won the People's Choice Award at Te Matatini this year, which was a really cool song. And it's also a very cool song in terms of what they've done with the chord progression in order for it to connect to the message. Now I'm going to go about this in two different ways. So there's going to be a first little bit. This is going to be more of a beginner's way of playing it. And I'm just going to do that without the capo. So for this song, you're going to need one of these things here. Boom, a capo on the guitar. Some people call it the guitar clip. I've heard other names for it as well. The little clampy thing that goes on the guitar. It's just called a capo. In order to play this in the way that it is played, you're going to need one of these as well. I will explain what these do. And I've got also another one here that just to give you a look of different ones that might be available, as there are different ones for different guitars, but they usually are generally consistent, but you might have a little bit of a different one for your particular guitar, as the neck can be slightly different with its radius as well as the area. For example, a classical guitar has a slightly wider fretboard. So you will need a guitar capo for this one as well, but I will play a basic version of it in a different key. I'll play it in the key of E and play those ones with open chords, so that way you kind of know what to do. And if you don't have a guitar capo, well then you're able to play it as well. The other thing with this song as well, you're going to have to know how to play a bar chord. There isn't going to be any way around this, just because they do play a B as well as a C sharp minor if we're playing in the key of E. But we will get into this. Now if you just want to go ahead to the actual song and learn how to just play it, I'm going to timestamp it, so go straight to the timestamp down below. Particularly if you've got the capo and all of that, that's going to be a bit later on in the video. So go straight to that timestamp now. Awesome. Okay. So what this song is, it is in, it's in the key of F sharp, is the original key, but for this with open chords I'm going to play it in E just so you're able to play it. But it starts on the 4 chord, then it goes to the 5, then it comes back to the 1, and then it goes to the 6. So it is a 4, 5, 1, 6 progression. That's the main part of it, but it mainly hangs around on that 4 and the 5. I will explain why later. Now with this, so if we're just to play an A chord, because that is the 4 of E, so an A major, which is just simply first finger on the D of the second fret, second finger is on the second fret of the G, and the third finger is on the second fret of the B. So it should look something like that in your guitar. So you've got an A chord. Then we're going to go to a 5th string bar chord, or an A-shaped bar chord, and we're going to play a B chord. So I'm going to be barring all strings on the 2nd fret, and then I'm just going to basically create a second bar. You can play it like this as well. So you've got the B A chord there, but I'm just going to bar it with my 3rd finger. Now this takes a little bit of practice, so you're going to have to, if you've never played a bar chord before, here is a good way to introduce yourself to it. And this is probably, for me, one of the hardest bar chords to play, because you're having to double up your bar. So with the bar, you're going to bar right across that 2nd fret, right from the A string to the high E. So we're going to go A, D, G, B, and E are going to be barred on the 2nd, and then you're going to bar the D, the G, and the B on the 4th fret. So you get this chord here. Now you don't play the low E. Okay, so this low E, we're not going to play it, and we're just going to mute it. Well, I like to mute it with just my finger there, so that way you don't really get it. So you got that there, okay? So we're going to play the A and then to the B. So it's going to go. Not too sure about the lyrics at the moment. There will be a video at the end of this with the partner singing it where the correct words will be sung. Cool. Now what we'll also do here is we're now going to go from that B chord to an E. So just a regular E major. So we have a look at that. So we've got our second finger on the second fret of the A string. Our third finger is going to go straight underneath that on the D string of the second fret. And our first finger is going to go on the first fret of the G. And we're going to have all of the rest of the strings open. So that's your low E, high E, and B string. And we're going to be playing that all the way through. So you get that. Okay, so that's our one chord. So that's our key. And now we're going to go up to the sixth chord, which is the relative minor. And that's a C sharp minor. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do another bar, and that's going to be on the fourth fret. Now we're going to make an A minor shape with the rest of our fingers here. So we've got our fourth fret barring it, and we're going to use the fifth string again, so we can use the top of our finger to mute that low E. Okay, and then we're going to have our fourth fret here on the A string open with our finger on that bar, as well as now we're going to get our fifth note of the chord right here. So our third finger is on the sixth fret of the D string, and then straight underneath that is our pinky. So on the G string of the sixth fret is where our pinky's at, and then we're also going to put our finger on the fifth fret of the B string right there. So you should have this kind of shape going on, and that's our C sharp minor. This is pretty much the whole chord progression most of the way through, because then it just goes from the A to the B to the A to the B to the A to the B, but it just pretty much plays that most of the way through. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to start off again. So remember, it's just going to be A, B, A, B. Right. So here's our A, B, A, B. Cool. And just before we go back to the A, we are now going to start singing. That's when the singing should come in. So it's just a little bit prior on that B chord, so on the fifth chord. So we're going to go like that there, and then we're going to go. So te awhuri te po, tira mana, nahe tu Waiata. So one more time. So we're going to go A, up to the B, down to the E, C sharp minor. Kei Wareware, ia. So back to the B, now going to the A. Tatou. Alright, and that's pretty much the first part. So I'll go through that just with the vocal melody. Forgive me for the lyrics, as I don't know the kupu very well, but it's te te po, tira mana, nahe tu Waiata, koku te nena, naia, uane neni, Kei Wareware, ia. Back to the A. Tatou. Now when the next singer comes in, it just stays on the A and the B. E te atu apai, tukua mai o ringa, makoha, hiki nā te whaimaha, aruki-ruki. Back to E, to and so on and so on. So those are just basically the two sections of it. Alright, so you can generally figure it out what kind of way it goes, because the the actual melody, it doesn't really change too much. So you can kind of generally work it out. The kupu, the words slightly change, but you'll kind of realize that, okay, this belongs to that section and this belongs to that section. Then you just repeat it. So you go from that first section where you're going from the A to the B to the E to the C sharp minor, into the second section, which just goes A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, Aki, Aki, Amini. And then once that you get through that, then it just goes back to the A, B, E, C sharp minor. And then that's pretty much the gist of it. Okay. Cool, so that's the beginner's way of playing it. Now what I'll do is I'll actually play it in its actual key. And so with this, you're going to need one of these things here. Boom, a capo. Now one of these are super cheap. And by guitar standards, they're super cheap. They're usually about, if you want a decent one, they're usually going to cost you about 30 to 40 bucks, sometimes up to 50 to 60, and you can max out at whatever your heart wants. There are some that's available for like 100 bucks or so. But generally what they are is they're for transposing the key. So what I mean by that is I'm going to put this on the second fret because that is where this is for this song. And then I can play those exact same chords, but instead of playing it in the open position where the nut is of the guitar here, the nut is now moved to here because of this capo. So I get to play it a key higher, but not have to play with the bar chords. I can do that if I wanted to, but you kind of miss some of the nuances and the voicings that you can get by just having a capo on the on another fret. It just makes it easier as well, and because this is a guitar, the chord shapes remain the same, but then you change the key. So the keys, just because I put it on the second fret doesn't make it still E. It's now F sharp, alright? Because you're having to move it up, and that changes the notes. So it completely changes the notes. It would make sense if I had to communicate that to, say, like a keyboard player or a bass player, because they won't have a capo on their instrument. So then I have to be able to communicate what key are we in for myself. Though as a guitarist it might just be easier, and in this case it is, because what they do, and this is, I've seen many different ways of playing it, and there's, as long as you're really getting that 4, 5, 1, 6 progression going, you're Kapa, you're all good, you're going to get this. But if you want to be like, I want to play it exactly like how it is, because it is a beautiful way that they've pieced this Waiata together, all you just need to do is put that there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to play like a bar chord shape of A, and I'm going to use the 6-string bar chord, which is just basically this one here. Okay, now as what I said, because now it's transposed, A is no longer the 4 chord, it's now B, because we've gone up a whole step. And we know that we've gone up a whole step because this is now on the 2nd fret, so it's now moved a whole tone. Not a semitone. A semitone would only just be 1 fret. A tone is a whole fret. Is 2 frets up, so a whole step up. So now we've got B. Now I could play the B here, which would have been that B there. So if you would have had a look at my finger, there you got the bar chord, but now I don't need to hold that because the capo's on. So there is our B chord, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the B up here. Now what I'm actually going to do, because this is what I've seen the people who performed it, this is what I saw them do on a couple of their performances of it, and I'm just going to go with that one. Can't get any more original than the actual original performance, right? So with this, we're going to, instead of playing, oh, listen to that chord, doesn't that sound beautiful? So this is what it would sound if I was just to play the straight major chord. So just a straight B, which is like, oh yeah, that works. Right, even though that works really well, what they actually do is they release the bar and then they play like this E chord right here, but it's in the B position, and then you get that sound out of it. So you're going Alright, so this is how they actually play the song. What they're doing here is, so they're playing like an E chord, so as if it's E down here. But what you're going to do is you're going to move all of your fingers up, and you're going to have this one on the 9th fret, this one on the 9th fret, and this one on the 8th fret. So you've got your second finger on the 9th fret of the A, your third finger the 9th fret of the D, and your first finger on the 8th fret of the G. But you're still going to have the B and the high E open. So you're not blocking it out like that. So that way you get this ring. And you're going to play the bottom E. Alright, now what this actually does is it inverts the chord. And it brings a different voicing to it. So if we were to look at this, we would have F sharp here. So as what I said, this is in the key of F sharp. So you've got an F sharp note there. You have got a do-do-do-do. What note is that one? That's a G flat or a F sharp. Ooh, look at that, that's our root note. Alright, so we got a F sharp there. And then from here we've got our B. So this is our B note, and then we have also got our boo-doo-doo, E flat. Yes, we got an E flat, as well as a C sharp and an F sharp right up the top. Alright, so those are the notes that you're playing in the triad that you've kind of got going on, but you've now got this F sharp on the bottom. And then what you're going to do is you're going to move your fingers. You're not going to change the shape here, you're going to move it up 2 frets. Alright, so you got something very beautiful. And then we're going to come back down and we're going to play like an E chord, but this is now F sharp because we've got that Capo on. And so now it just sounds like it's resolved back to 1. Alright? So while we've got this, so we're going to go back to the start of it. So we're going to start on that 4 chord, so on this B chord with an F sharp bass, and then we're going to go up to a C sharp, to a C sharp with the F sharp in the bass, and then we're going to go back down to our 1 chord, which is just F sharp major. Awesome. And then we're going to come up and we're going to play a bar chord, and we're going to play this on the 6th fret, and it's going to be a 5th string bar chord, so it's going to be the A string all the way to the high E that we are going to block out. And then we're going to play that minor shape again. So with this, we've got our 3rd finger on the 8th fret of the D string, 4th finger on the 8th fret of the G, and the 7th fret of the B string with your 2nd finger there, so you get that. Now you can make this into a minor 7th as well, because I did see that, which kind of gives it a dominant 7th, a minor dominant 7th, which you just take your pinky off, right, and that sounds very beautiful. And then you're going to come back around to that B chord again. Alright, and then that's basically the whole song and all the chords that you need to know. All you need to now know is the structure of it, but those are all the chords that are required to play this song. So just to go through it with this voicing, the original voicing, I'm going to come sit a little bit closer. What we'll do is we'll go from here. Alright, so back to the 4. I'm going to stay in that 4 and 5. Then it goes back around again to the other parts of the song, which aren't any different to the other sections. Cool. Now, as you can see, the good reason for the capo is that it makes it easier for your voicings. This is one thing that people don't understand about capos, particularly when they're starting out. I've even heard it from some Kapa haka performers as to, why do you need a capo? You can just bar everything. Yes, you can. You can do that. You can do it and you can bar it. But in some contexts of some music, you need to have the correct voicing, and the capo just enables a bit of convenience. You've only got 4 fingers plus your thumb that can work the fretboard, and so that only gives you so many options. And if you're able to utilize something as simple as a capo, why not? Go ahead and do it, because it's all about the art. All right, so that's that part there. Now I'm going to finish this off with just a little bit of a breakdown of the actual selection of the chord progression with the message of the song. So with the message of the song, it's important to note that the whole kupu and the lyrics are talking about their loved ones who are passed on, and them going to the stars, and what it is in Te Ao Māori, and the rise of Matariki, which is about to happen with Puanga for 2025. As I make this video, it's quite appropriate for this occasion. But it's also appropriate for occasions of like tangihanga, or just where you're supporting someone with that aroha, because that's what the song is about, remembering those who are passed on and who have lived a great life, and you're longing for them. And that's the whole message of the song. Kei Wareware ia Tatou. And so what's really good about this particular song that I don't see all the time from Kapa haka performances is they're linking the musical content with the message. So as what I said, this is a 4-5-1-6 progression. So because of that, it creates this longing, because you don't start on the 1. And if you start on the 1, so in this case it's F sharp. So if we were to start on that F sharp, everything already feels like it's resolved, it's at home. So there's kind of this feeling of rest with what they're doing. But because we start on the 4 here, or in this case, so because we start on that 4 chord, we're not starting at the home. So then once that you start playing through the progression and you start linking everything together, you get this sort of longing, especially because the start, it only goes from 4 to 5, 4 to 5, 4 to 5. And then it goes back to the 1, but then it goes to the 6. So as we go to the 4 and the 5, even if I'm just playing these basic block chords, so just a straight major, straight B major with a straight C sharp major, you can already feel that there's this, oh yeah, this feels good, but it doesn't feel like it's properly rested. And then once that we include the 1 chord, which I'll do here, That's the 1 chord there, and that's the 6. So when you go back to the 1, you kind of get this resolve for a little bit that you're searching for musically, and this is subconsciously going on. Now, whether these songwriters who made the song for the Kapa haka group, don't know. A lot of the time, there are people who just make up songs and they just go with the feeling. Like they just kind of go like, yeah, this feels right, or they let the music guide them for the kupu, for the words. Depends on their process. Everyone's different. But with this, it's a really good example of using a chord structure to highlight what you're trying to do. Because it starts on that 4 and goes to the 5, and just it really emphasizes it because it stays there on a second time. It makes this longing feeling with the music. And then once it comes back to the 1, there's kind of like, oh, there is the rest. But then it goes to the relative minor. It goes to the 6th chord. And what that does, every time that someone uses a 6th chord within their progression, it's like this emotional lift starts to happen just naturally. And because it's a minor chord, and minor chords are usually sad, it heightens the emotion even more of going like, ooh, well, now I'm really longing for these people and really trying to remember them and having my moment of reflection, contemplation, and being serious. Because remember, major chords, so if it were just to be in the major key, it would just be F sharp, happy-go-lucky chords. But then if you go to the minor chord, or the relative minor, it automatically shifts the emotion to make you think, I'm going to contemplate this. So that's what's really going on inside the music, which I think is really cool. Now what they do is, to emphasize it even more, they've made those voicings, they've selected these voicings in order to emphasize that emotional feeling even more. Especially here. So when you're doing the 4 and the 5 run here, because you got those constant ringing of the F sharp, the C sharp, and the F sharp and the C sharp, because you've just got that with the octave above it, you get this consistent kind of glimmering to it, but you're changing these 3 notes underneath. Right, so if I was just to play those, that's one thing. But then when you put it all together, it's really nice because you're still changing the chords just very subtly while getting these other 2 notes with the octave just ringing over the top. And then once you resolve back, it all makes sense again, like, because it's all just a regular major triad. So these are really great ways to example what it is to take the music and then connect it to the message. One thing that I do get with Kapa haka performers, or I've had this before from someone, is ask me about, like, what do I think of Kapa haka performers in terms of their musical skill. Everyone is gifted. There's no kickback from me on that. Everyone has gifts and talents. It's just what separates, what makes people special are those who are able to create something that's just completely different. And like when you're talking in a musical context, there are levels to things in music. So even just in vocal and guitar, just in a single instrument, there are levels to each thing. Kapa haka performers, I don't really think of them as just musical people who sing and play an instrument. I actually look at them like a musical theatre performer, because they have to also dance and sometimes act. So they're bringing those elements together as well. So are they talented? Yes. Do I believe that they would do well in a musical setting? They would. Most of them would. But there is a difference between being loud, and some people will know what I'm talking about here, and actually being skilled with your volume. Yeah, and we'll go with that. Anyway, if you got any more Pātai, feel free to comment them away, subscribe to the channel, and there's going to be some more content dropping soon. Ngā mihi, have a good day.